Hello everyone, it's Lottie from Enjoying the Journey, Cancer is a Lifestyle. So today we're going to talk about Plarn. Probably one of the most asked questions I get out of anything here is about my homeless mats. Now I did a video like maybe around 2 years ago on what I do, what I use for my homeless mats. If I have time, I will put that in the links below if you want to look at it again. But I thought that maybe it's time to kind of update it, since I'm asked so much. So what do people ask me? Everybody wants to know the size I make, and how do you cut your strips, and what hook are you using, and things like that. So before I go on, I should do a disclaimer. This is no way a tutorial, you guys. I am not making a tutorial. I am just showing you what I use for the sole purpose that many of you in many of the states, there are no more grocery bags used in stores. People have to bag their own stuff. And so then they're like, oh, I would love to make a homeless mat, but I don't have, where am I going to get the bags and all. So this is really more to show you what I have been using. I don't just use the grocery bags. So this is just a disclaimer. This is just what I do, and I have my own way of doing things. I've been doing this for almost 9 years. I've been running my ministry, my crocheting ministry now for, it'll be 9 years in August. I can't believe it's been that long. So I've kind of adapted and made my own. I've done things my own way, and but there are great tutorials out there on how to make Plarn and how to make a homeless mat, which I will put down in the link below if you want to see it. I actually have a video on my Facebook Crocheting Ministry page, also for others to look at, because it's so requested. Everybody's so interested in these homeless mats. So that will be down in the link below if you want to see exactly how they do it. Now, the people who showed me how to make a homeless mat were a group of women that's all they did. I think they belonged to a Lutheran church or a Presbyterian church. I'm not sure. They had quite a large group of women that were making homeless mats, and they donated once a year to a homeless shelter. And they were by the book. And when I say by the book, they measured every strip they cut. They measured the mat exactly to be the exact size, width, length. And so that's what I mean. If that's what you're looking for, I am not the type of person to do that. It's like cooking with me, honey. I add a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I make it work for myself. So what I'm going to show, all I'm showing you is what I use, okay? That's the disclaimer. Now also, I do have my windows open today, so if you hear all the children playing outside because they're all out in the neighborhood, it's only because the weather has been beautiful and they are barefoot and running around having a great time. I believe it's like 60, almost 60 some, close to 70 today, but we're also going to have huge thunderstorms coming, so that could explain for the temperature rise. But anyway, so I will have all those links down below if you want to, check that out. So let's talk about, what kind of bags. The traditional bag, homeless mats, are made out of your traditional, like Walmart grocery bags, the basic ones. Now I have these are already cut. I cut the strips in, and we'll go over that later, why I do that ahead of time. But this is your regular grocery bag, and some people, that's all they use is these. They don't use anything else. I have found, especially in the beginning when I first started out, that it was hard to come by. Now, like I said, I am 9 years into this. I have made, I don't know how many homeless mats. Everyone that knows me knows I collect bags. Let me tell you, I have more bags coming out of my ears, and whenever somebody wants to give me their bags, I never refuse, because it takes about 500 of these small bags to make one homeless mat. That's what the video will tell you when you're looking on there. When they measure it accordingly, the strips to what they tell you in the video. So still, even if you make them larger or smaller, you need hundreds of these bags to make one mat. There's my girls. They are going crazy over the open window. So I'm just letting you know. And even though this may seem like a lot, I will get maybe 3 or 4 strips out of this. So it's not as like you think. So when I first started out, I quickly found that I was short of these bags. And they also, at that time, I remember a lot of the states were, you know, clamping down on, you know, plastic bags, and you had to bring your own, bag your own. So I have done a lot of experimenting as to what bags, what plastic bags I can use for this. So I also use the large ones that, you know, the plastic ones like from, you go anywhere, like this one is from Big Lots or Hobby Lobby. Sorry, this is a Hobby Lobby. I'll even use the thicker ones that you see on some of those more you know, nicer stores. I will use those. I've also experimented in what other plastic bags that I have at home that I'm throwing out that I can use. So for instance, baggies. I reuse my baggies over and over again until they get pretty worn out. I will wash them out and I will use them. And when they get pretty worn out, ready for trash, I will cut the strips and I will use these for my homeless mat. Now many of you have told me that you would love to make these, but you don't have any plastic bags. Well, the more it's really more out of word of mouth. The more people know, they will remember and save and give you theirs. Now, if you're in a state that, you know, you guys don't have any, you bag your own, you can use maybe some of these items. So here's another bag that I use. This is from a roll of, a whole thing of paper towels. But you can also use a toilet paper. And look, this is a huge bag. I save it. There's nothing wrong with this plastic. This is good plastic. You can get quite a bit out of this one, since I always buy the big, large ones. You see? Now, when you buy these large ones, they also inside are packaged with how many you have in there, 4 or 5, or how many. You can use those bags just as well. It's all about the type of plastic. Now, here's another one that may surprise you. Like I said, I've experimented. This came from bread. This plastic bag is just as good, no problem. And you don't even have to really wash it. You just have to, you know, make sure you shake out any crumbs. This is from the bread. This is one that you guys probably see every time you order. Like you receive a package in the mail and it's wrapped in something like this. This is perfect. I have no problems with it. Now, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. Now, a lot of these things come in what I call this crinkly plastic. Hear it? There's a difference. This crinkly plastic bags that you often, things come in, they are no good. They are very flimsy. And when I try to, they're okay cutting, but when you try to put them together, they break very easily. So they don't have that substance. So just beware where you can experiment on your own. These kind don't really work well for this. So you can use these, you know, and I don't even the size bags, don't think that if something is too small, you can't use it. This came from marshmallows. Now, you may think so, but you may have some marshmallow, you know, I will tell you what I don't also use. I have tried using any frozen food bags and things like that. I would wash them out and dry them out. It seemed like too much work to do just for me to use it for a mat. Now you can do that. You can take like all your frozen foods. Like this marshmallows, there's really not much to clean in here. It was very easy, you know, to dust it off and all. There was no particles left. But like a lot of like if you had your frozen vegetables or things like that, when you wash them out and dry them out and you know, you want to make sure it's washed out really well. There's a lot of residue that is left and it just was too much work, I thought, on my part, It doesn't mean that it's not possible or that it's not okay for you to do that. If you want to do all that work, I just did not want to. Now the size of these little bags doesn't matter to me either. I use everything. Like this is a little one. I will still get several strips out of this. Now, I will tell you the size I use when I'm done with these bags. But I use all of them. I save all these. All of these are good. Here's a potato bag. And you will think to yourself, but on the back they have the, but you know what? They may have that, what do you call that? That kind of a meshy thing. It doesn't rip. It actually works well even when you strip. When you cut it into strip, and then when you put it together, it holds. It's okay. It's got strength in it. Same thing with your fruit ones, oranges. Like this is my grapefruit one. This is still good. There's nothing wrong. And I look, and you may think about any particles left behind. There is, I didn't wash this or anything. There's nothing in here. This is perfectly clean. It was just your fruit in there. This is from my grapefruit. Here's my Ziploc bag. Now, also, any bags, even these, garbage bags that are, you know, that were broken or ripped or something, and I would use those too. I didn't use the rip part, but I would use the part that it was still good, but I can't use it for my trash. I basically recycled a lot of the stuff. Here's another bag that I use. Different finish. Let's see, what is this? This is from the rice. So you see, for anyone who, you know, if you don't have the grocery bags, there's a lot in your pantry that you can use, basically recycle. And you may say, but you had to do a lot of work cleaning. No, a lot of this I didn't have to clean. What is this one? Oh, this is from the apples. Now these have a little bit tiny holes in here for the breathing. Do you see those? That's okay. That did not rip it when I cut it into strip. It still held really well. You just have to kind of determine what is flimsy and what's not. So here's another, like if you buy bagels and all, and they come with this, your price tag, you can always cut this part off if it, you know, and just use the rest. So let's see, what else do we have? Now, ladies, here's another perfect example from your maxi pad bag. There's nothing wrong with these. And you may think, oh, wow. But, you know, when you cut it into strip, nobody sees what it is. They just know it's blue. And let's see, I got one more thing. Oh, yes. My candy. I bought a huge bag of candy. And those bags that they come in, it is much thicker. But I will show you what to do with that. So another thing that I don't have here, but I also I found that it works really well, are those plastic tablecloths that we use for parties. They actually work really well. People throw those out after one use, and I would take them, and I would just wipe them down if there was anything on them, and that actually makes tons of strips, and it adds some colors. And there was one time that I decided to color code these mats, and I would save all the different colors. Like I have yellow, I had blue, I had green, and I would actually make like all green mats, all pink mats, all blue mats. And I brought them in one time when they were done, and to the homeless shelter, and it was actually dinner time when I did that. So there were a lot of families there that were being fed. The children loved the multicolored bags, the homeless mats. They loved it. They went nuts over it. They thought it was beautiful. So I'm just saying. So anyway, that's the different bags that I use. So let's talk about the size of the strips. So like I said, when it comes to the size of the strips I use depends on the thickness of the plastic bag. So for instance, your regular basic grocery bag, I don't make them into thin strips like this. Many people make them thin like this, or even a little bit bigger. I actually, you know, here's some that people make. I think this is your basic size that they ask you, you know, that they measure out, and I will make it wider. I make mine wider. And I actually cut it to where it's, like I said, one of those bags that will cut into 3 or 4 strips. So it's kind of think of like chunky yarn. When you're working with chunky yarn, it goes a lot faster, and it works a lot better, you know, with your hook. When the thickness, like the bag of candy, from the candy, and it's thicker, I always make a smaller strip, for the reason that you don't need a lot. It's very strong, so it's a lot thicker, right? So think about it. Here's your strip that you're working with. It's not as flexible as the others, and also you don't need just much of it. So what I do is I don't put all these strips together at the same time when I'm using a thicker strip. I will use one thicker strip and one smaller strip when I put them together. There you go, right? And I would put another thinner strip on this side. So it works itself in really nicely with the mat. Let's see, what else do I need to talk about? Okay, and the prep time. Let's talk about the prep time. Now, I've used to do it different times. I always say that when it comes to plarning, it's crocheting anything. Let me show you my ball that fell on the floor. Here's a ball that I have started. The balls itself, when you start crocheting with Plarn, go like this. You can make anything super fast with Plarn. It goes so nice and fast, probably faster than if you were crocheting with yarn or knitting. It just goes fast. What takes up the time is actually making these strips and making the balls, the cutting. You want to use very nice sharp scissors. There were times that I would save all my bags and just devote one evening and do nothing but cut the strips and all. And let me tell you, I don't do that anymore, because even though it's, you know, just take care of everything at once, but it would leave welts on my fingers from the constant cutting. You will need to sharpen your scissors quite a few times after, if you spend the whole evening cutting, you will need to sharpen them because it will dull them. So, but like I said, it was effective in the fact that when you're plarning, it's messy as heck when you're cutting them. These little bits and pieces are flying everywhere. You know, I was just cutting some here. They're all over the floor. I will show you. Here's one I have. These little pieces here, they're all over the floor, all over your desk, and it's so airless, right? It's weightless. It just flies around everywhere. When you're done with cutting, it's such a mess. Prep time is messy. So if you just want to avoid and do it one time, doing everything in the one evening, it works well that way, but you won't have welts on your fingers from constantly, that's all you're doing is cutting. So now what I do, I don't wait till I have tons of it at one time. I cut it as soon as I have. And if I don't have time, if I have too much of it, I just cut the top part and the bottom, and I leave it where it's just ready for me, like here. And then when I'm ready to crochet or turn it into a ball, I cut them. And if you look, this is about the strip sizes that I use. And I will most likely get 4 out of this one. So I will do it in that way because it's much easier. I like it when it's thicker. I have learned that it works much better for me when it's with these thin, when they're thin. The thin weights work much better when they're wider. And the thicker ones, if I have to work with thicker plastic bags, it works better if the strips are smaller. But that's what I do. You can do what works for you if you don't mind. I have people give me bags all the time everywhere I go. And sometimes I just want to, clear up the space. So I will, like I said, prepare them, just cut the strips, or I will make it into balls. I actually have a whole basket full of these balls. And like I said, but once you start, you're ready to crochet and make, it is, boom, you will like make a mat in no time. because it just works up really well. So what else did we need to talk? Let's talk about the hooks. Everybody asks me about the hooks. I'm going to show you one of my hooks because I seem to be losing my hooks. They're all over my room somewhere. I just found one in my closet. I don't know what I'm doing. I prefer the plastic ones over the metal ones or the steel ones or anything, because it makes it easier to glide. Because you are working with plastic, you're going, and it works much easier. It glides in and out much better. It doesn't get caught up. Don't forget, you're rubbing basically plastic on the metal. There's a metal hook, and a lot of times it will be like rough, you know what I mean, and it doesn't want to glide in as well. It's much easier for me to use a hook that is plastic versus the metal or the steel one. I use the largest hook I have, which is this one is a Q, and I have different size ones. I prefer the longer because it's easier for me to, I like a larger hook anyway. I don't like to work with smaller hooks. One of my problems that I have with a lot of the manufacturers out there, when it comes to the size of the larger the hook goes, they tend to make it fatter but shorter. Like I have a hook that is like this, almost this, only this length. I don't like it. I want to have more freedom, but that's just me. But this is a Q. It's working out really well for me. I would suggest the bigger the hook, it will be easier for your wrist. A lot of people have a hard time with that. Now, I have changed a few things. I've always complained about my wrist hurting, my hand hurting after I would be doing plarning, but I have found when I make the bigger strips, and I basically, it's like I'm working with chunky yarn, and I use a larger hook, the largest I have, it actually makes it so much easier on my hand. So anyway, I think that might be it. That all that I have to cover on that. I hope that kind of answers a lot of your question. And as to the sizes of the mats, I never measure the size. Like I said, if you want to do all that and be with the accuracy and everything to be done exactly like to code, or you know, some people are very conscious of these things. You know, it matters to them. They want to be exactly the certain size. I figure people are different sizes. None of us are the same size. Some of us are tall, small, wide, skinny. So I tend to make different sizes. I make different widths. I just crochet and I look, I go, okay. Or you know what, I made too many wide ones. I need a more narrower one for someone smaller, thinner. Even with the length, I tend to do that too. I kind of check. I try to do different sizes because to me, I feel people are all different sizes. I do roll them into a camp style, you know, bag that you can put, excuse me, on hooks, and you know, and so they can attach it instead of carrying this big old thing. Gosh, I got a piece of something plastic in my mouth. But anyway, I hope that answers some of your questions. You know, I have heard that some people even go and buy like garbage bags and to make a mat and all, but you can use what you have. There's a lot that we throw out every day that is reusable, and I think that's what attracts people to making homeless mats, is the fact that you can make something so usable, so neat, so important, that out of what people throw out every day. So well, anyway, I hope you I hope this helps out a lot of you who are thinking of making homeless mats. And like I said, please watch the videos down below to the links to the, you know, exactly how to cut them and all that, and that will show you, kind of give you a better tutorial, because I'm not doing a tutorial. Anyway, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.